Excellent!
Hello once again, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in to Poor Boys RC. Today's project, one that I should have started a long time ago, but I need some motivation. You see, I bought this Tamiya Hornet a couple of years ago, about 2 years ago. And it's a classic kit, it's iconic. Gotta have a Hornet in your collection as far as I'm concerned. I put my battery in it after I got it all put together, went for a test run, and wouldn't you know it, I broke this upper shock mount, which is part of the chassis. I've since glued it together, but it's not very sturdy, and one good jolt and that's just gonna break right off again and ruin my day. And I'm just not into that. I don't feel like having my day ruined when I'm outside RCing. You know, you get out there, you're all stoked to go, and then bam, something happens and your day's blown. Well, that's not gonna happen. You know why? Because I found another aluminum chassis. I figured we had so much success with the Tamiya Midnight Pumpkin aluminum eBay chassis find. I picked one up for the Hornet. Let's check it out. Oh, but before we open this one up, I also got a couple other goodies. Yeah, you see the wheels here, guys? I was going through a phase with shoe goo. I don't know what it was, but I ended up shoe gooing these small screws so they wouldn't back out. And as you can see, I made a real mess. I kind of overdid it, and now it's kind of turned yellow and crappy looking. It really looks terrible. So I just kind of left the Hornet sitting on the wall for years. I was really bummed out with what I did with it. Yeah, and I made a mess with the decals here. Like I just made a real mess with this one. It just didn't go together nicely. So we've got some new wheels also that we're gonna put on this bad boy. eBay find, option 1, all aluminum wheels. So these are gonna be really, really nice. A nice upgrade for this thing. New wheels, new chassis. We're gonna put a nice motor in it, and we're gonna get this Hornet brought back to life. So let's start with unboxing this chassis. I'll throw a link in the description box down below, guys. So if you're interested in getting it, you can get one for yourself. Comes with a couple little doodads, a little picture of a Hornet. Dear friend, thank you for your purchase. Very cool. RC A-dong. Looks like that maybe would have gone up here for retail purposes. So anyway, that's the company that's making them, guys. RC A-dong. We've got a little instruction manual here. Very simple to read instructions. Everything looks very basic, very straightforward. Get rid of that. And then the actual chassis. Check this out, guys. This is way too cool. What a time to be alive. Aluminum chassis for CW01s and Grasshoppers and Hornets. So check this out. It even came with a tool. Looks to be like a 2mm hex, maybe a 2.5. A little bit of a closer look here. A really stubby 2.5mm or 2mm hex tool. We've got some screws and some bits and bobs. Let's see what we got going on here. Come get a closer look. So these guys here look like our front. No, probably the rear suspension mounts, which is what I broke before. So it's going to be nice to have those in all aluminum with a support bar and some mounting hardware. Very cool. Put that aside so I don't mix it all up. We've got this additional little baggie with, looks like we've got, so battery tie-down straps. Very interesting. Perhaps this chassis will solve the perplexing challenge that the Grasshopper Hornet chassis give us, where the battery door likes to fly open while you're driving. Pretty cool. And then here we have just a bunch more hardware. I'll get opened up. So that's the last of the pieces there, gang. And we just have, yeah, some nice aluminum spacers, lots of spacers. Looks like these are new shock shafts. That's interesting. I wonder what that's all about. Some O-rings and some E-clips. Groovy, groovy, groovy. And then the chassis itself. And would you look at that, boys, girls, peoples. Ain't she a beauty? Looks like these are the front shocks. front shock mounts, I should say. Kind of like a double-decker style looking design, which is super cool. There's the bottom. No more battery door flying open while you're driving, I suppose. That's a good thing, hey? Really nice. Oh, yeah. And look at this. Look inside here, guys. Right in there, look at that. This bar back here is spring-loaded. So that's pretty neat. That's a really rigid spring that's in there too, so that's going to help prevent that the dreaded axle slap that you get with these guys. Yeah, that's a really, really nice looking chassis. I don't know what else to say. It looks fantastic. So let's start putting this thing together. Oh, but before we do that, let's get those aluminum wheels opened up so you guys can have a closer look at those as well. Option number 1. These guys are quickly becoming the option number 1 for a lot of us Tamiya fans. Really well-priced products. This video is not sponsored by them. I'm not affiliated with them at all. I've just been buying a lot of their stuff lately, and I've been really happy with it. Really good quality and really inexpensive. Nice little decals. Little bit of hardware to tighten down your nuts. And our wheels. Let's see what they're all about. I like the fact that they individually package them all so they don't beat themselves up. And it's a good looking wheel. With these screws here, it kind of gives that factory impression of it being a 2 or 3 piece wheel. But in fact, it's not. It's all one piece. And that's the rear. Really cool. Really cool. Really nice wheels. Pretty cool stuff. So, looks like first step, we've got to take this upper deck of the chassis off. Front suspension mounts are mounted. Lower control arms or A-arms are mounted. And tighten you up. So next thing I'm going to do here, guys, is install the front bumper. Seems like a logical choice at this stage of the game. So it's nice that some of the hardware is like it's pre-mounted. As you can see, like, you know, these screws with these lock nuts are on here already. So, you know, I mean, it's obviously telling you that, hey, this is where this goes. So that's kind of cool. In the instruction manual, the front bumper they're using is an option part, an aluminum front bumper. I don't have that. I wasn't intending on using it. I was just intending on using the stock plastic bumper. And one thing I'm noticing already is that the screws that are provided in this kit aren't long enough to mount this bumper, like you see right here. Whoops. Let's try and get that back on. That screw is not really long enough. I might be able to get some meat on this thing, but I suppose it'll work. But that screw should be a little bit longer so the lock nut can actually lock. All right, so front bumper is on, front suspension mounts and front lower A-arms are in. What's next? I think next we got to put a steering servo in. So I've already Off camera, I installed the stock plastic mounts that came with the kit. I put those in. I'm just going to use an Amazon 25 kg waterproof servo in this guy. I've had really good luck with these servos. They're not they're not precision instruments by any stretch, but they do the trick. A lot of power, waterproof, and 25 tooth spline. So with the front end pretty much dialed in, guys, I think what the next step would be to get the rear axle installed. I've already gone ahead, removed 4 top screws here. There are 4 more screws down below, which will pop out. And that should allow this to slide out like that. And now we can get our bar out. Now, why is that bar different than the one that came in the kit? They are... Here's one that came in the kit. Here's one. I'm sorry. Here's one that came with the aluminum chassis. Here's what comes in the kit. They are identical. I'm going to use the one that came with this chassis in case I'm missing something obvious. Our next step is mounting our rear shocks. We have rear suspension. Check it out. Coming along pretty nicely there, gang. And I know for a fact I'm not going to break this. So we're pretty much on to the last step, guys, and that's just doing the front suspension. I thought I was going to do it first when I started this video, and after seeing everything, just the way it all kind of played out, I decided to obviously do it last. So that will be our next step. Let's get going. When building the front shocks, you're going to reuse the lower shock mount, so keep that in mind. So we take it about that far, and now it needs to be installed on the chassis. So that's it, guys. The chassis is done. That was probably about an hour or so, maybe a little bit more. You know, relatively simple install. I will say this, the instructions leave quite a bit to be desired. They're there, they tell you what's what, how to get there, all that kind of thing. But there's no step-by-step. So I redid things a couple of times. I yelled and swore a lot, which I try not to have included in my videos. But let's just say when I've redone something for the 3rd time and I'm thinking to myself, man, I wish I just didn't have to redo that 3 times. But alas, here we are. And anyway, it came together nicely with the exception of having to kind of redo things a couple times. But overall, I am very happy with how that looks. And I can't wait to see how it performs. It's going to be freaking awesome. A couple things to mention, guys, because this chassis obviously does work with the Hornet and the Grasshopper, but there are some minute differences. And what's nice is that the kit does come with some of the things like these, which you would need for a Grasshopper body mount. So it does accommodate both chassis, just in case you are wondering. And my only other real gripe that I have with this chassis is that as beautiful as it is, as much effort as they put into it, and I'd say they must have put a lot of effort into designing this. It's pretty rad. But the rear body posts for the Hornet, if you're gonna run a Tamiya Hornet body, you still have to reuse the factory Hornet body posts, which are very brittle plastic, and the way they're kind of situated, just dangling off the back of the aluminum there, you know, leaves me to believe that on a hard rollover, you might break these. And I wish they had somehow integrated some aluminum into these mounts. So what I went ahead and did, guys, as you know, normally with your Hornet, you would have your rear shock mounted right here, going right through that plastic portion, which also doubles as a body mount. I moved it inward a little bit so it's mounted in through the aluminum, so I know it's going to be super, super rigid, and the only real stress on these mounts is going to be if I flip the whole thing right over and have a really hard crash. So hopefully that'll keep these body mounts alive. Check that out, guys, and that battery fits right in there beautifully. That's a 2S LiPo I have that's kind of shaped like a, you know, a traditional 7.2 volt stick pack. And that dropped right in. I got the sport tuned motor back there, so we're gonna have some good juice out of this bad boy. And off camera, I went ahead and mounted the wheels and tires onto one another. Look how awesome that looks. So let's get these guys put on real quick here so you guys can kind of get a nice overall view on how this bad boy is gonna look. And then it's gonna be time to go outside and get it dirty. But there it is in its completed state. Those aluminum wheels look sick. And that chassis just kind of peeking out the way it, you see those grooves in there and those cuts in the chassis. You think, what's going on there? That's a fancy little Hornet chassis, isn't it? Oh yeah, boys, check that out. Pretty sweet. And the irony of this whole Hornet build, going back to the start of this video when I explained how the stock plastic chassis broke on my test run, I was going to build this Hornet and just keep it stock and beat the tar out of it. It was just going to be like a runner that I was going to beat up. That's why I kind of went with alternative box colors. I did a brutal job with the decals on here. They're like peeling up everywhere. I don't know, I kind of rushed this one, just expecting that I was going to beat the crap out of it anyway. And then on a test run, I broke the chassis. So it's been sitting on the shelf for like 2 years. So now that I think, you know, there's a renewed bit of life in this thing, I think I'm going to do something different with the body. I've got an idea. I think I'm going to do something fun with the body. But anyway, we'll save that for another day. For now, this chassis is done. If you guys have any questions, throw them down in the comment section below. Always happy to answer all y'all. And if you don't mind, guys, please do hit the like button. Do subscribe and share and all that good stuff. It really does help a small channel out a lot. That YouTube algorithm is a bugger. Means a lot. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I love all you. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Be excellent to each other.